Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Uh, Welcome back again. I was away for a while, a lot of things happening, and I'm around. You know, sorry I missed you for a while, almost for a week, but the news are, happening every day, every second, so I couldn't update you on those issues because I was busy with something else, but still around. And thank you again for sharing your time with me today. So uh, the war is still ongoing. As you know, it's a dramatic shift on this civil war. The No More group, the Minilik Brigade, are celebrating different victory in this operation, according to the government media. And, this pro-government media, EBS, FANA, SAT, the Habesha, all these are celebrating, and they are in a celebratory mood, but nothing to celebrate actually. The country is, in a very bad shape, economically, in diplomatic relation, uh, inflation, so many negative stuff, but they are celebrating, and many are displaced, many in need of humanitarian aid. So the country under Abiy Ahmed is in a very, very bad shape, regardless of which side is winning the war. So there is some oppression in Western Tigray, Walqait, Agade, all this area. The TDF is shifting its operation on that area, and the drones the Ethiopian government received from United Arab Emirates, China, and other countries are causing a great damage to civilians. So dramatic shift, very, very tough shift. It is a damage to those forces looking for a better Ethiopia. Now Abiy Ahmed is consolidating its power and using all the country's resources toward this war uh, to secure his seat in Arat Kilo. So that's the situation now, and it's unfortunate they are winning at this time. It's unfortunate for democratic forces, those forces who are looking for a better future in that country, freedom, justice, equality in Ethiopia. At this time is very bad for them, but the war is still going on. The other encouraging thing, I witnessed in yesterday, I think before yesterday, is a grand rally organized by Oromo diaspora community, Tigray diaspora community, and other freedom, freedom forces conducted or carried out in Washington D.C., Australia, and other countries. So it's encouraging to see, the flags of Eritrea, the flags of Tigray, the flags of Oromo, and others, showed up and demand justice, freedom, equality for Ethiopians. So that's an encouraging sign, and it should continue in the future. That's the only way you can bring justice, equality, freedom of expression in Ethiopia. You cannot get these things under Abiy Ahmed or under Prosperity Party. So that's encouraging. And the following are some of the demands expressed by these demonstrators in Washington, D.C. and in Australia. I will read some of their mottos or demands. They say they demand USA to do more to stop the genocide happening against Oromos, Tigrans, and others in Ethiopia. Do more. The United States is always expressing, concerns, giving warning out, but that doesn't stop the war. That doesn't stop the genocide happening in Ethiopia. So these protesters are demanding more, to do more on the USA side. They also demanded the removal of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed from power and face justice for the atrocities he committed, for the bloodshed he caused in that country, for those ethnic-based mass detention and open assassination of, Oromos, Tigrans, and others. And so they demand that. Also, they demanded Amara militia, Eritrean forces to leave Tigray and Oromia region. Also, the demonstrators demanded United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and other countries to stop supporting genocide operations in Ethiopia. This is very important. This is already reported by multiple medias. United Arab Emirates, especially providing military hardware and also some, funding for the Ethiopian government, for Abiy Ahmed, Turkey and China. So they demanded these countries stop providing or supporting the genocide operations in Ethiopia. They also call for the release of all political prisoners in Ethiopia. They also call stop raping Oromos, Tigrans, women, and others. So these are some of the slogans or the demands of those protesters in Washington, D.C. and Australia and other countries. So the most important thing is the solidarity, the unity of other ethnicities with Oromos. So that that should be encouraged and should continue until freedom, equality, justice achieved in Ethiopia. Okay, let's see some other news. Okay. Thank you again for joining me. Here we go. CPJ says Ethiopia biggest setback for media freedom in sub-Saharan Africa. 2 journalists shot dead. A dozen remain behind bars in Ethiopia. In its 2021 report on the global status of press freedom, the Committee to Protect Journalists ranked Ethiopia among the worst jailers of journalists in sub-Saharan Africa after Eritrea. That's why we don't support Abiy Ahmed administration. He's just following Eritrea. His best example is Eritrea. So that's why those freedom fighters are conducting their operation. The report that was released yesterday revealed that in Ethiopia in 2021, 1 journalist was killed and 9 remain in prison. An earlier report that released yesterday and focused on Ethiopia, the CPJ also noted the suspension of Addis Standard in July 2021, assaults and intimidation of members of the press, the expulsion of at least one foreign journalist for war coverage, and an internet disruption among the setback for the media. In sub-Saharan Africa, the biggest setback for media freedom came in #Ethiopia. Numerous journalists have been arrested in the country since the start of the country's civil war. It is to be remembered that in 2019, after reform promised and undertaken by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Ethiopia improved 40 places from 115th rank the year before of the World Press Freedom Index, where the Reporters Without Borders ranked 100 countries and regions according to the level of media freedom. Ethiopia now stands at 101 on the annual ranking. The CPJ detailed that numerous journalists have been arrested in the country since the start of the war in Tigray a year ago, where 9 reporters were still in custody on December 1st. 6 were arrested in November as the conflict escalated and the government imposed harsh emergency laws. CPJ documented multiple other press freedom violations throughout the year, the report read. Addis Standard followed and documented violations against press freedom throughout the year, including the killing of both Oromia Broadcasting Network (OBN) Sisai Fida and Tigray TV Dawit Kabede, and the arrest of subsequent release of Tasfalem Woldeyes, a prominent independent journalist with 2 decades journalism experience and the founder of Ethiopia Insider, a private Amharic language online news outlet, and many more. Addis Standard investigation revealed that in Ethiopia, 11 journalists remain behind bars. 1. Tasfa Alam Takle is a journalist working for Kenya Nation Media Group, working as its correspondent in Addis Ababa. He was arrested on October 31, 2021 in Addis Ababa. Ermias Alamu is a radio journalist working for a private radio station. He was arrested 2 weeks ago in Addis Ababa from his residence by the Addis Ababa Police Commission. Hirom Worku is a journalist working for Ahadu Radio as a head of its news department. He was arrested on October 22, 2021 by Addis Ababa Police from his office. On November 16, 2021, the Arada High Court ordered his release on 15,000 Ethiopian birr, but he remains in prison. That's injustice. Abdusalam Hassan is a journalist working for Oromia Media Network, OMN. He was arrested on November 21, 2021 in Addis Ababa. Melese Diripsa, the news director of the Oromia Media Network. He was charged alongside high-profile politicians and the senior Oromo Federalist Congress members Jawar Mohammed, Baqqala Garba, Hamza Adane, and Dejene Tafa of terrorism. Bikila Amanu and Dechasa Wiftu, both journalists working for the Oromia News Network, were arrested on November 19, 2021 in Addis Ababa. Ibrahim Hussein, Salam Mukhtar, Muhammad Qasim, and Hersi Muhammad are journalists working for the first private Somali language TV station in Ethiopia, Nabad TV. All four were arrested on November 10, 2021 in Jijjiga, the capital of the Somalia regional state. Mikias Tlahun is a journalist working for a private media company. He was arrested in September 2021 in Bahir Dar, the capital of the Amara region. So even after this report was out, still the Ethiopian government arrested two more journalists. Journalist Maaza Mohammed was taken from her house in Addis Ababa, Nefas Silk sub-city this morning, according to her husband, Robel Gabeyo, who told Addis Standard they were not wearing uniform, but they showed her their ID. Journalist Maaza is the co-founder of online media outlet Roha Media and previously worked at Abiy Media. Robel said she was on her way to work when she was confronted by the men who took her. We don't know where she was taken to, he said. According to her husband, the police neither searched her residence nor provided explanation as to why she was arrested. This is the third arrest of online media journalists this week, following Iyaspit Tasfai, Tamrat Nagara from Ubuntu Media and Terra Network, respectively. So thank you, this Standard, for this reporting. So that's the challenge. That's the challenge we are facing in Ethiopia: the freedom of expression, the freedom of journalists to report freely and independently. So the Ethiopian government, despite all the promises in 2018, despite the release of political prisoners, journalists in 2018, came back, now is doing all the same dirty jobs. And all the promises are broken. Nice talk, honey mouth, all is changed now. Abiy is brutal, very brutal, anti-democratic, anti-freedom of expression. The only thing he tolerates at this time is those media like Isad, Habasha, and others, and Fana, those who are hiding the truth in Ethiopia, those who are covering, cover up the genocide and the human rights violation happening in Ethiopia. So he can, manipulate the news. He forbid others to report about the war, and that's happening. So this is the clear indication of undemocratic system, injustice, growing in Ethiopia. It is scary, really, very scary. If this group is successful in Ethiopia, it's very bad for Ethiopians and for the international community. That's why we have to do everything to stop them, not to abuse justice, not to abuse the freedom of expression. We have to do everything against Prosperity Party. Very dangerous, very dangerous. It's just showing, it's just following the Eritrean style. Eritrean style. There is no freedom of expression in Eritrea. There is no election. Eritrean president is a lifetime president, Isaias Afwerki. We don't want something like that in Ethiopia, but the normal group are happy with it. the no more group. They don't care about this. They care about to keep Abiy Ahmed there and take the advantage available for them. They don't care about the freedom of observation. They don't care about journalists arrest, journalists killed. They don't care. Okay. Council of Ministers approved draft proclamation to form National Dialogue Commission. Okay, National Dialogue Commission. So now they form it. The Council of Ministers in its second regular meeting held yesterday, discussed the draft proclamation establishing the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission and passed a draft proclamation established Ethiopia National Dialogue Commission. In a statement the office of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed released, it said that one of the national issues that the government promised when it was elected in the sixth national election was to work for national consensus and establish a common ground on national issues through inclusive national dialogue and consultation. Accordingly, the draft proclamation discussing the establishment of an independent and legitimate institution aimed at bringing together various political elites in order to reach at national consensus and common ground on various national issues was presented to the Council of Ministers. After deliberating on the draft proclamation, the Council of Ministers has approved the proclamation with some amendments and decided to submit it to the House of People's Representatives for approval, the statement said. So we will see what kind of commission they will establish and what kind of dialogue they will conduct, how far they go to include all the stakeholders in Ethiopia, and we will see. I think the group we have in Ethiopia are criminals. Even though they claim their clear victory on this sixth general election, uh, that's not the reality. Opposition political parties were jailed, their office shut down. So how you can compete with Prosperity Party in such situation? So the election was, undemocratic, but they claiming, and we will watch and we will follow it how they will conduct this inclusive dialogue and reconciliation. We will see. I think those conducted this war operation, those liars, those who are keep lying to Ethiopians and to the global community, they should be removed, really. They should face justice in that country or on the global stage. They don't deserve to be included in this reconciliation. But they are the one organizing reconciliation, truth commission. They are who are leading. They are the one controlling the security, the finance, everything in that country. So let them do whatever they want to do. So we'll see. Okay, U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Feldman, visits United Arab Emirates and Turkey. U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feldman, traveled to the United Arab Emirates and Turkey from December 10 to 15. Special Envoy Feldman will meet with senior officials of the two countries to discuss opportunities to support a peaceful, stable, prosperous Horn of Africa, hopefully. And so the peace effort or the ceasefire effort, the dialogue continue on part of the United States. Jeffrey Feldman, Secretary Blinken, and other Biden administration officials, they are still, expressing their concern, pushing for dialogue, reconciliation, to stop the war and the calling for humanitarian access still continue, but we don't have listeners. And that's why the demonstrators in Washington, D.C. and other countries call on the United States and others to do more to stop this blood shed in Ethiopia, the genocide happening in Ethiopia, and the arrest of those um, journalists and uh, the the attempt to silence the freedom of expression. You know, these are the issues. So, but the act, the United States is still conducting whatever it can to stop the war in Ethiopia, and it's a very good start to go back to United Arab Emirates and talk to Turkey to stop these drones coming to Ethiopia. Iran warns of heavy price after report of U.S.-Israeli military drill plans. A top Iranian military official warned on Saturday of a heavy price for aggressors, state media said after a report of US and Israel plan for possible military drills to prepare for strike against Iran's nuclear site if diplomacy fails, providing conditions for military commanders to test Iran missiles with real target will cost the aggressors a heavy price. Nor News, affiliated with Iran top security body, said on Twitter, citing an unnamed military official. A senior U.S. official told Reuters on Thursday that US and Israel defense chiefs were expected to discuss possible military exercises that would prepare for a worst-case scenario to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities should diplomacy fail and if their nation's leaders request it. This is a scary one. This is a scary one. So credit Reuters news agency. This is a very tough news for that volatile region. I hope the peace talk in Geneva about this Iran nuclear issue resolved peacefully. I hope. No war. We don't need more war. War is devastating, destroys humanity and property. Erdogan, no peace without two-state solution. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressed on Friday that the only way to achieve stability and peace in Palestine is to create an independent and sovereign Palestinian state on the 1967 borders. 1967 borders, they're talking too far. Erdogan is talking too far. 1967 border. Israel is already crossed farther deep into Palestinian territories. No way they can accept. No way. But this thing is keep coming from international leaders, especially from pro-Palestinian government. But it is very hard for Israel to accept pre-1967 border. Speaking at the opening session of the 16th conference of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, Parliamentary Union in Istanbul, Erdogan stated, Jerusalem is not the issue of a group of courageous Muslims, but the issue of all the Muslim world. He reiterated that making Muslims pay the price of genocide against Jews in Europe during World War II is a kind of oppression and a lack of conscience. The Turkish president proclaimed, as grandson of people who ruled Jerusalem for 400 years, we cannot bear seeing blood, tears, and oppression in Palestine. At the same time, he told the Muslim officials Jerusalem is a blessed city, and the trust of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, for his nation, and defending it means defending the whole humanity, human rights and the laws, peace, justice, and civilization. Erdogan explained the Palestinians are being killed brutally in the streets and their children are being treated like terrorists and their worship houses are subject to daily aggression. He reiterated that the OIC member states must move together and avoid anything that weakens the Palestinian cause. We have to continue our mission despite the short support of the international community in order to find a just solution for Palestine. So that's a very strong statement by Turkish President Erdogan, and a very challenging, very volatile area. The issue between Palestine and Israel has never been resolved, and we know it. I know it from my childhood. Still never been resolved. It's becoming worse for Palestinians from as a day passes. They are losing their land slowly by slowly. So that's a very tough one, and I hope the two-state solution will be implemented very soon, so they will not lose more land. They will not lose more land. The longer it takes to form the two-state solution, the more land the Palestinians will lose, and the more they suffer. So that's a very tough one. Okay, that's the end of the reading part. Thank you again, and let's share a couple of videos quickly and end today's presentation. Thank you again. So the first one is on Human Rights Day, celebrated yesterday. There we go.
Is at the crossroads. The COVID-19 pandemic, the climate crisis, and the expansion of digital technology into all areas of our lives have created new threats to human rights. Exclusion and discrimination are rampant, public space is shrinking, poverty and hunger are rising for the first time in decades, millions of children are missing out on their right to education, inequality is deepening, but we can choose a different path. 73 years ago today, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The principles set out in this simple declaration remain the key to realizing all human rights, civil, economic, cultural, social, and political, for all people everywhere. Recovery from the pandemic must be an opportunity to expand human rights and freedoms and to rebuild trust. Trust in the justice and impartiality of laws and institutions. Confidence that a life of dignity is within reach. Faith that people can get a fair hearing and resolve their grievances peacefully. The United Nations stands for the rights of every member of our human family. Today and every day, we will continue to work for justice, equality, dignity, and human rights for all. Happy Human Rights Day.
Okay, that one is Turkey. So,
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this conversation about and on behalf of political prisoners. My thanks to my friend Foreign Minister Landsbergis for co-hosting this event with us, and to Undersecretary Zaya for moderating. 4 speakers will be sharing their stories today. Tatiana Komish, the sister of Maria Kalesnikova, a leader of Belarus's democratic opposition, who spent the last 15 months in prison. Rehan Assad, the sister of Ekbar Assad, a Uyghur tech entrepreneur who's been held in solitary confinement in China since 2019. Victoria Cardenas, the wife of Juan Sebastian Chamorro, a Nicaraguan opposition politician who was a candidate in the presidential election until he was arrested in June. And Peter Biarajok, an economist and peace activist imprisoned from 2018 to 2020 by the government of South Sudan. These are difficult experiences to share, whether for former prisoners or those whose loved ones are being unjustly detained right now. I'm grateful to each of you for being willing to speak, for your tenacity in working for the freedom of others. It's estimated that there are currently more than 1 million political prisoners around the world. Every one of them has family members and friends like these individuals. And more individuals are being unjustly detained or convicted in sham trials with each passing day, as we saw earlier this week with the sentence against Aung San Suu Kyi. These people are held without just cause, often because they peacefully exercised their human rights, like freedom of expression, or defended the rights of others. They may have organized an opposition party, reported on abuse and corruption, taken part in a peaceful protest. Other times, they're targeted simply because of who they are, based on their race or religion, the language they speak, who they love, their ethnic identity. Minority groups are often disproportionately represented among political prisoners, and their imprisonment is enabled by Orwellian legal systems designed to target peaceful protesters or government critics with euphemisms like pre-criminal dangerousness in Cuba or subversion of state power in China. Individuals are sentenced by courts that lack independence in trials that are closed off to outside observers. No matter what the process, their imprisonment is devastating and dehumanizing for prisoners, their families, their communities. Prisoners are often subjected to torture and routinely kept in inhumane conditions and denied medical treatment. Maria described her experience so far in Belarusian prisons as moving between, and I quote, hot and then cold cells, without air or light, without people. It's harrowing for prisoners' friends and families too. They're often denied information about their loved ones or forbidden from visiting, which is its own form of punishment. Some family members or colleagues are punished by association. In some cases of transnational repression, some governments are even imprisoning family members and colleagues back home to target dissidents who have moved abroad. For many prisoners, their detention is designed explicitly to stop critically important work that they were doing to serve societies, such as political union organizing, reporting, or advocacy. And it sends a clear message to their colleagues that the same thing could happen to them. When countries hold political prisoners, they create climates of fear and self-censorship. They stifle political participation. Often, these abuses occur alongside other forms of repression, like crackdowns on the independent media and human rights groups. And this is important to note. People are held as political prisoners all around the world. In fact, the State Department's latest human rights report contains evidence of more than 65 countries holding political prisoners. So many of these individuals are their country's best and brightest hope for a future that's marked by democracy and respect for human rights. Through imprisoning political prisoners, autocrats are quashing democratic hopes and ambitions. That's why it's important that all countries stand firmly against the detention of political prisoners, no matter where they are held, and work together to free them. Let me share a few ways that we do this and urge other countries to join us. We call for the release of political prisoners. We meet with their families and colleagues. We monitor trials. We publish reports to share information about individuals and their cases. In public and in private, we urge all countries, regardless of our relationship with them, to free political prisoners. And we work to build effective pressure through multilateral institutions like the UN Human Rights Council and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. We also work closely with partners like Lithuania, our co-host in today's event, who is a leading advocate for political prisoners and democracy. Our countries collaborate to hold accountable those who detain political prisoners, including the coordinated sanctions against the Lukashenko regime that the United States and the European Union announced just last week. We also partner with human rights organizations, lawyers for individual detainees, and other civil society actors to bring these cases to light, including through our annual Human Rights Report. But a big part of why we're holding this session is that we know we have to do better. We have to find new ways to mobilize bigger coalitions, exert more effective pressure, because we know that sustained pressure can work. Natan Sharansky was a Soviet dissident falsely accused of spying and detained for 9 years in jail. While he was imprisoned, his wife, Avital, who was shy by nature, traveled the globe campaigning for his release. She held rallies, wrote op-eds, met with anyone who would help, from international leaders to local groups. That included the U.S. government, which pushed for his release. He was eventually freed in 1986. Early this year, I met with Natan, who relayed what he called his confrontation with evil, but also his perpetual gratitude for his freedom, and to those who fought for it. His very presence, and that of people like Peter, who have also been released, is a testament to why we must not give up, and also a testament to all that these individuals can contribute when their unjust imprisonment is over. I want to thank everyone here for their work helping political prisoners around the world, and I look forward to continuing our collaboration and seeing the progress that we will make together. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so that's a strong message from Secretary Blinken on political prisoners, journalists, and an attack on democracy. So it's a very encouraging message from the United States. But the other thing I don't like is they are working to bring Assange, the journalist who exposed a lot of things by using freedom of expression. So the United States is working to bring him from United Kingdom to U.S. for that guy for reporting. He's a journalist for exposing a lot of international engagement. WikiLeaks. So yes, the United States calling for democracy, freedom of expression. In another hand, try to shut down this guy and bring him to misery. And for just reporting, he didn't do nothing, just reporting. So that's a double standard. So I hope they will, correct through time their actions, and they will make their call for democracy straight. You cannot put pressure when journalists are reporting about your activity, and you are talking about their freedom when they are also impacted in other countries. So they are already won the appeal to bring him here. So that's a very sad news for William Assange, I think, a WikiLeaks guy. So I hope the Ethiopian government listen to Secretary Blinken, and the other countries listen and release all the political prisoners, especially in Ethiopia. They are just keeping them indefinitely without any court hearing, and by increasing the number of witnesses, 139 plus for Johar and Bakala Garba and other cases, 139. And that's another way of the, delaying tactic, denying justice by increasing the number of witnesses. So it might take years if you want to, allow all these 139 plus witnesses to come forward, or do it behind the curtain secretly. So that's a very challenging one. And I hope they will listen and release all these journalists, and allow journalists to express they're reporting freely without fear of intimidation or arrest. So, Ethiopia is in a very tough situation now. Abiy Ahmed is changed totally. All the promises broken. All the nice talk, honey talk is bitter now. And he is intolerant. He is using undercover security officials and military and special militias to arrest any journalist who criticize him or who report something the government doesn't like. So the Abiy Ahmed and the Ethiopian government is only tolerated Assad, the Habesha, Walter, Fana, and those friendly, only friendly, those who are not challenging the government, those who are not reporting about the massacre happened just last week in Karayu, on Karayu Oromos, East Shore, and other you know, uh, illegal mass detention, ethnic-based detention uh, on Tigrayans and the Oromos. The Ethiopian government is okay with Assad and other medias who are not willing to challenge the government, who are not reporting what the atrocities are happening in Ethiopia, only reporting the government victories, victories, victories. That's why they are not facing. They are even um, encouraged, uh, supported by Ethiopian government for reporting just friendly news without any challenge. So that's not independent media. That's not freedom of expression. That's why concerned citizens media is against it. Journalists should be allowed to report without any bias, without any intimidation, without any fear of arrest or assassination. So that's all I have for today. I will be back with other updates. Thank you again for coming back. Please share, like, comment on my video. So long, everyone, and enjoy your weekend.